Hello everyone. I have tried to film this a few times during the last few days, so let's hope that this time this will work out. Foghat is one band that I have wanted to get to know for a long time. Basically, I haven't known anything about the albums. The only thing that I knew was that I wanted to start from prior to their live album. And early this spring I was at a record fair, and there was a seller who had several of their albums, and I ended up buying this one. This is Rock and Roll Outlaws from '74. I don't know what made me decide to get this one, because frankly, to me this sleeve looks well, suspect at the very least. Yeah, doesn't look like something that I would like at all. But anyway, I decided to buy this, and I like this. It's a good boogie rock album, and now I want to find the Fool for the City album, which the same seller actually had that album, but yeah, that was at the record fair, so I don't know if I'm able to find him. But by pure chance, because if I had put the earlier version of this video to the online, I wouldn't have known it, because yesterday I happened to notice that Fool for the City is being reissued on CD. I think it was next week, so I think I'm going to buy that one. Okay, more from the record fair. This is Raging Slab. When I saw this, I did recognize the name, but I didn't really know anything about this band. Looking at the sleeve, this looks like a country band, but the name Raging Slab tells that this is not a country band. So I thought that maybe this would be something along the lines of Molly Hatchet, or possibly Doc Holliday, which to me, Doc Holliday is like a missing link between southern rock and heavy metal. But to my surprise, this is even more heavy metal. The vocalist is not a heavy metal vocalist, and she plays slide guitar, which is unusual in heavy metal. But basically, this music here, in my opinion, is heavy metal with a non-heavy metal vocalist. Not the greatest stuff that I have heard, but I did like this. I thought it was fairly okay. And one more from the record fair. Like I have told you many times, I am not an audiophile, but there are albums and CDs which I'm not happy with the sound of. So this was one of the CDs that I have that I'm not happy with the sound of, so I was very glad to find this one on vinyl. This is Collections by Young Rascals. Really, really good, one of their early albums. Yeah, very, very glad to get that one. I like Jefferson Airplane a lot, and I have nearly all of their albums on CD, and I wanted to get one of their albums on vinyl. But the album that I wanted was Volunteers, but since I already have 2 copies on CD, I wasn't going to buy a 3rd copy on vinyl. So when I heard that this one was being reissued, Blessed's Pointed Little Head live album from 1969, I decided to buy this because this is one of my favorite albums from Jefferson Airplane, and also because I noticed that this would include an insert. So what is on the insert? Not exactly an essential thing to have. Yeah, but okay. Anyway, I got it now, so I'm happy with that. Okay. Then this was one of the grunge bands that during the 90s I was aware of them, and I know that I did hear some of their songs, but I never heard any of their albums, and in fact I can't even name any of their songs. But now their albums were on sale, so I decided to buy 2 of their albums, and the first one is Purple. Yeah, good album. I like this a lot, and to my big surprise, the final track here is very, very surprising, because usually these grunge bands, they are so serious that they almost crumble underneath their own seriousness, but the final track here is absolutely hilarious. Really, really surprising. Would never have expected something like that. The second album that I bought was Shangri-La Di-Da, which I actually like even more. To me, this is the better one out of these two albums. Okay, then on to quite different kind of music. This is Paul Simon's Concert in the Park, recorded August 15th, 1991. This is looking at from today's point of view, this is very surprising because this lasts over 2 hours and this is only a double album. But yeah, music here is absolutely excellent. Love this album. Yeah, great thing. But I do prefer his earlier live album, Live Rhyming. Yeah, again, this one was surprising. This is Johnny Winter and from 1970. Johnny Winter, I know him mostly as a sort of a hard-rocking blues rock guy. And since this band includes Rick Derringer, I was expecting this to be even more extreme hard-rocking, heavy, not heavy, blues rock. But to my surprise, this was actually kind of soft album. To me this is the softest Johnny Winter album that I have. But nonetheless, it's a good album, but very, very different to what I was expecting. Now I'm on a hunt for their Johnny Winter and live album. Next one. As everybody knows, Neil Young's 80s albums usually get a very bad reputation, and for a good reason. I have heard all except one, and I have to say that the majority of those albums are, well, they are bad, not good in any sense. But they do have some gems in them. I actually like 3 of those 80s albums very much, and this is actually one of my favorites from Neil Young. This is Neil Young and the Blue Notes, These Notes for You. And with this one I was lucky because I was at a record store and I found one copy of this and it was 30 euros, and I was like, yeah, way too much, and not gonna pay that much. And next day, or next time I went to the record store, I found another copy which was 25, and I was still like, yeah, too much, I'm not gonna pay that much. And again, the following day, or whenever that was that I went to the record store, I found this one, and this time this cost, I think it was 14. So I finally bought it. Yeah, very unusual Neil Young, but like I said, this is one of my favorite from Neil Young. This is Crowded House, Afterglow. These are outtakes, but I think this is great. I've had this one on CD for a long time. Yeah, this is actually my third favorite behind Woodface and Together Alone. So yeah, very, very good stuff. Okay, Buffalo Springfield again, their second album. I've only had, well, I did buy the first album recently also, but prior to buying these, I've only had a cassette that I taped back in the 80s, which had, I think, 10 songs. And most of those songs were actually from this album. So yeah, I like this a lot, but this does not include my favorite song from Buffalo Springfield. This one I think was one of the Record Store Day releases this spring, but I didn't buy it then. I bought it several months later because at first I thought that maybe that's not such a good idea. This is John Lennon Imagine raw studio mixes, but yeah, as time went on, I started thinking that actually I do have at least a couple of other albums that have been done the same way, which includes like the album in demo versions or live versions or something like that. So I thought that maybe this one will work also, and it does. I think this is a good album, very much worth hearing. So if you like Imagine album, I recommend getting this one too. Okay, now then, this one was a big surprise to me. In all the things that I have read and heard about Courtney Love, she really doesn't seem like a nice person. But this album lived through these this is excellent. Really, really great album. Really think it's great. One thing that I could tell about is that basically the only thing that I have quote unquote argued with my father about music was one of the songs by Hole. I don't remember which song it was, whether it was from this one or not. I remember that we were in a car and the song came on radio, and I remember just listening to it and thinking that that's actually a really good song, because I was just barely aware of them at the time. And just when I was thinking about that, my dad said that what a fucking awful song, and she sounds awful. Well, I didn't start arguing about it with him because, like I said, I just barely knew the band. But yeah, one thing that looking at this album sleeve, this is just my own thinking. It's not based on anything other than my own assumptions. But I know that Courtney has told that she had a difficult childhood, but I have no idea like in which way. But looking at this photo here and thinking about the title, Live Through This, I think that this photo is a reminder that she had to live through this childhood. If you look at her, she's barefooted, and look how she keeps her arms and her hands. It's very clear that she is feeling cold here. So I think that it is a reminder of it. But yeah, musically, brilliant album. Like easily one of my favorites out of this batch of records. Okay, and I will finish this by telling a little story about my summer trip this year. Prior to going to that trip, I had already decided that Milano would be the only place that I would visit record stores if I would have time. And in the end, I just barely had time to visit any record stores, and the two stores that I did visit weren't actually record stores. They were like bookstores or something like that, which had a record section. I don't even remember what was this name of the first one, but it was on the side of the Duomo Square, and I found this one, Paul McCartney and Wings Rock Show DVD. This is available here, but for some reason this costs something like 46 or 47 euros, so completely insane. And over there I found this one for 10 euros. The surprising thing about this is that the booklet here credits all the songs with the exception of Maybe I'm Amazed, which is credited to Paul McCartney alone. All the other songs are credited to Paul and Linda McCartney. With the exception of the Beatles songs, obviously, and those are credited to McCartney and Lennon, not Lennon-McCartney as usual. I had completely forgotten that, but this one includes an acoustic session during the middle of the show. I mean, I knew that Led Zeppelin had acoustic sessions during their shows in the early 70s, but I completely had forgotten that this one includes one of those also. The filming of the show, not the greatest thing, but it's from 1976, so it's good for its time. But yeah, not the greatest one. Okay, then I went across the Duomo Square to the other side where I knew was La Feltrinelli, and they had actually surprisingly large section of records there, and I found 4 there. One was Greatest Hits by The Cure, one was Very Best of Crowded House, and one was Live Over Europe, double CD by Genesis. Well, I knew that I had all the songs from those 2 compilations, so I didn't really need them, and I knew that I would find Genesis CD from here, so I decided on buying this one, Bruce Springsteen, The Promise. I actually thought that, okay, that's kind of expensive, but I decided that this is the best choice anyway. And it was only a week later, I remember I was in Geneva, Switzerland. I was looking at this album again, and I went through these side A, B, C, D, E, F. And it was only then that I realized that this was actually a triple album, not a double album as I had thought. So now the price was even more sensible. Like I said, it's Lost Sessions, Darkness on the Edge of Town, unreleased recordings from Darkness on the Edge of Town sessions. Not all of this is or rather, let's say that it's understandable that some of this stuff was left in a can, but some of this stuff is actually really good. And that was all that I bought from Milano, and I thought that that's it. I'm not going to visit any more record stores until we were in Monaco, and we came across another such store, a store which had a record section in there, and I found 2 records. First one is Live at the Shea Stadium by Clash, recorded in 1982. Good live recording, but I do prefer the earlier live recording from Clash, the From Here to Eternity, which was released in 1999. But yeah, good one anyway. And when we went to that record store, I didn't know that it was close to closing time. We had just barely started going through the records when we heard the announcement on the speakers, and even though it was in French, it was easy to understand that it meant that they would be closing soon. And so I started going through the records quickly there, and then I heard the second announcement, and like a few seconds later, the shop assistant came and told us that the store is closing, we have to leave, and that's when I found this one, Counting Crows, August and Everything After. Yeah, very glad to find this one, adding another country on my Counting Crows collection. I actually tried to buy another Counting Crows record from Lafertrinelli in Milano. Their web pages said that they had another album on their lists, but it wasn't available at the shop. So with the help of Federico Martinelli, I tried to order that record into the store, but for some reason they don't allow that, so I didn't get that. Okay, that's it for this time. I am still way behind on my purchases, so hopefully I will be making another one soon, but I think that next one may be a metal update. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you like this. Leave a comment. Bye.